I've spent more than $100 million on Facebook ads over the past 11 years. I built a very successful marketing agency in this space, and I've probably spoken to more Facebook advertisers than just about anyone on the planet at this point. And I still get so frustrated by how many Facebook ad myths there are out there and how many Facebook advertisers believe these myths and ruin their chances of achieving incredible results because of them. So in this video, I'm going to banish these Facebook ad myths and make sure they don't hurt your campaigns. This video is sponsored by HubSpot. More about them later. Facebook ads myth number one. Targeting is the most important thing to get right with your Facebook ads. I think there is a sense amongst a lot of Facebook advertisers that if they just get their ads in front of the right people, they're guaranteed to get lots of sales, lots of leads. And if their campaigns aren't working, it's because they're just not finding the right people. They haven't got the right targeting inputs. Meta hasn't worked it out. That's very unlikely to be true, especially nowadays. It was unlikely to be true a number of years ago, and it's even less likely to be true now because Meta really is very good now at finding the best people to put your product, your service, your ads in front of to get the action that you've told Meta that you want, whether that's a lead, sale, or something else, right? So if your ad campaign isn't performing, unless you've made a big targeting mistake, it's unlikely to be targeting. And there are far more important things that you want to be focusing on. So as long as your targeting isn't set up to be targeting far too small an audience and be too restrictive, you're using a more open option, whether that's Advantage Plus Audience or one of the tailored campaigns like Advantage Plus Shopping campaigns, where it's open targeting and Meta just works it out for you. As long as you're doing that or something along those lines, not being overly restrictive, you want to be putting much more time and attention into your offer. What are you actually offering your prospects? How can you offer something better than what your competition are offering? Whether that's a better product, a better service, and a superior price point, a better deal, better customer service, better terms. You have brand value associated with your offer that your competitors don't have. Like, how can you make your offer better than what your competitors are offering? And then your ad creative. The quality of your ad creative is so important to the success of your Facebook ads, much more so than targeting nowadays. And I still see advertisers putting more time, effort into their targeting, testing, tweaking than they do into their creative. And that's just crazy, not something you want to do. Number two, testing is the only way to learn. Now, testing is really valuable. All Facebook advertisers, Instagram advertisers should be testing. But it is not the only way to learn at all, and it's not the fastest way to learn. And there's something that I've talked about many times before that all Facebook and Instagram advertisers should be doing, but not all actually do. And that's modeling from other successful Meta ads that have gone out into the marketplace, that are tried and tested, that have performed well, and that you can save yourself so much time and effort on the testing side of things by, instead of trying to work it out from scratch, you're going, okay, let's use this as the base point to model from. These ads are working really well. How can I replicate something similar to this for my business? Now, to help you do that, HubSpot, who I'm partnering with on this video, have created a fantastic free resource that contains 50 examples of high-performing Facebook ads that you can model from. There is a link in the video description below where you can download these Facebook ad examples. They've included ads from Nike, Hulu, Venmo, and so much more. My favorite part is that it's sorted by industry to make it really easy to find exactly what you're looking for. Using this free resource to find high-performing Facebook ads to model from is one of the absolute best ways to create Facebook ads that can deliver outstanding results. You don't need to try and reinvent the wheel, especially when you're first learning. I'd strongly recommend you check it out and use it to level up your Facebook ad creative. Check it out using the link in the description below, and thanks to HubSpot for sponsoring today's video. Facebook ads myth number three. Facebook ads only work if you have a large budget. This is one I hear all the time, and it is absolutely not true. You can get great results with Facebook ads with small budgets. In fact, I've created a whole video on how you want to adjust things if you are operating with a small budget. I'll include a link to that in the video description, so you can check that out if you're interested. And I actually recommend that most businesses start small, work things out, go through that testing phase, potentially launch those first few campaigns that might not deliver great results and realize, okay, this doesn't work, we need to make adjustments. So start with a small budget. What small is for your business is going to vary. Does your business do 100 million a year in turnover, or does it do $5,000 a year and it's just started, right? And therefore your corresponding budget is going to be very, very different. What's small for you will vary. But start small, work it out, and then look to scale once you know your campaigns are delivering good results and once you know that they are profitable. In fact, what we typically see with Facebook ad campaigns is that the best return on ad spend numbers will come from a smaller budget. And that's because, let's say you're spending enough to put your ads in front of 1,000 people a day. Well, Meta is going to work out the best possible 1,000 people a day to put your ads in front of. This links back to the targeting point. If you increase your budget 10x and you say, I want my ads to be put in front of 10,000 people a day, well, you're already going to get the best 1,000, and then you're going to get the next best 1,000, and they're pretty good. They're really interested in what you have to offer, but not quite as good as that first 1,000, and so on and so on and so on. The more money you spend, sort of your ads end up being put in front of people that are slightly less hyper responsive, as I refer to people, slightly less into what it is that you're offering, slightly less likely to convert. So just throw out that myth that, oh, okay, I'm getting a 4x ROAS. If I just 10x my budget, I would be getting a 8x ROAS. Almost never works that way. With that said, campaigns with larger budgets overall probably do produce better results, but it's not because of the budget. I think people often see this and they think it's successful because of the bigger budget. That's not true. The reason why that happens is because campaigns run with larger budgets are usually run for large companies, and large companies have more brand value, more brand recognition. They often have superior products and services, better price points. That's how they became large companies in the first place. Not always, granted, there are anomalies, but most of the time they have superior offers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become a large company in the first place, and they wouldn't sustain their position as a large company if their offers weren't very good. So it's sort of a correlation, not causation type thing going on there. You do have to be aware that if you're starting small, the potential upside is limited when it comes to a small budget. So let's say you're spending $10 a day and you get a 10x return on ad spend, which would be a fantastic result for most businesses. Well, that's still only $100 a day of revenue generated from your Facebook ad campaign. Like, no matter how well your campaign does, if you're only spending a small amount, the revenue generated, sales generated, leads generated can only be a certain size. And to get more, to generate more sales, to get more leads, you're going to have to scale. Myth number 4. You can't sell directly using Facebook ads. This is absolute nonsense. I think this was probably always nonsense, and it's more nonsense now than it ever has been. You can absolutely directly sell products and services with Meta ads. We do it all the time for our clients. Now, there is a little bit of nuance here. You can't sell every single product and service directly. Some things you are going to need a slightly more complex sales funnel in place. You're going to need to warm audiences up more. And typically this falls along value lines, right? What are you selling and what's the price point? Is it a $50,000 service? Okay, you're probably gonna have to warm people up to purchase that. Or is it a $50 e-commerce product? In which case you can absolutely go and sell that directly. And there's obviously, varying degrees in between that. But I think most people have the default of you can't sell directly or you can only sell specific things directly. I would say that most of the campaigns that we're running for our clients are direct to offer strategies. They're directly selling the product or service. They have one step in the sales funnel directly from ad to sales page to landing page to get them to become a lead, to get them to purchase, as opposed to having multiple steps in there. And if your product or service in particular costs less than say $100, then the direct offer strategy is probably the only way you can go, because obviously if you put multiple layers into the strategy, you put multiple campaigns, multiple steps, you've got to pay for each one of those. And if you're not then going to make tons of money from the customer when they become a customer, the economics just doesn't really work out on that. Like it doesn't really make sense to have those extra steps. So if your AOV, your average order value is low, is beneath $100, almost certainly have to go direct. What a lot of people experience, a lot of advertisers experience, is they'll run an ad campaign, it won't work, and they will blame, just like I talked about targeting. Another one could be, oh yeah, well I'm directly selling here, aren't I? I'm going the direct offer strategy. I've just got a sales campaign, lead campaign to a cold audience. It's never going to work. And they assume that's the problem. And that's unlikely to be the case. It's much more likely to be you don't have enough brand value, your offer's not good enough, your creative's not good enough. That's a huge one. You could maybe improve your headlines and your copy as well. Those are the reasons why. It's not, I need a more complex sales funnel, I need to put in extra steps the vast majority of the time. Facebook ads myth number 5. Facebook ads only work for cheap items. Now this is not true at all, and this is one of the myths that probably annoys me more than any other. I think because as users of Facebook and Instagram, we see a lot of ads for relatively low value things. We just assume that that's what the platform's designed for. But actually, if you pay attention to your ads, you will now see a lot of ads for higher value things as well. But people sort of have this assumption, and it is completely false. Facebook and Instagram ads can work well for lower value items, but it absolutely can work well for higher value services, products as well. Let me give you an example to sort of demonstrate this, right? So the businesses with the highest customer LTVs nearly always get the highest return on ad spend numbers, the better results, as that would normally be measured, right? Return on ad spend would normally be how you'd measure Facebook and Instagram advertising results. So let's say you're advertising low value items and your customer lifetime value is $40. That's what you generate from each customer. Now let's say you do really quite a good job with your advertising and you get a cost per purchase of $10. That would be quite low nowadays, right? Well, that's a 4x return on ad spend, which is all right. Now let's take another business. Let's say you're selling a $10,000 service. So your lifetime customer value is $10,000. Okay, how easy would it be for you to beat a 4x return on ad spend? Well, to achieve a 4x return on ad spend, you would be able to pay $2,500 per new customer. Let's take an example of you're generating leads for $50 each and you convert 1 in 8 leads. Well, you're now generating a customer for $400. Leads are $50 each times 8, $400, but they're worth $10,000 to your business. So you're getting a 25x return on ad spend. So the businesses, wherever you see crazy numbers, like our business got 70x return on ad spend, 100x return on ad spend, and we have examples like this, they are nearly always the businesses with really high customer LTVs, because it's just not possible to do that if you're only focused on low value items. Now, I think one of the reasons why this comes about, this myth sort of sticks around, is because people go on to Facebook and Instagram, they try and run ads for their business that is high ticket, that advertises something more expensive, and they try and sell it directly and it doesn't work, and they therefore assume the platform doesn't work. And what they've just done is not use the right strategy for that. Now, this point is linked to the previous point, because the previous point I talked about, you can absolutely sell a lot of things direct to offer with one-step sales funnel. If you are selling something over $5,000, pretty unlikely that that's going to work. You are going to need to warm people up. You're going to need to put ads in front of people multiple times. You're going to need to show them customer testimonials, demonstrate how your product, service, etc. works, have multiple call to actions, stick around in their lives long enough so that when they're ready, you're there for them. So you do have to pay to put ads in front of people again and again and again, but you can afford to do it because the customers are worth that much more. So that's a strategy error that leads people to continue believing this myth. My favorite strategy for business in that situation is my omnipresent content strategy. I'll include a link in the video description below where you can go ahead and check out a video that shows you exactly how to implement that, because that is the best way to do this and absolutely can make it work really well for businesses like this.
Come on a sec, take a look at this. So this is in my mentorship program, right? In the results and wins channel. And Tara has said this: in 2 weeks of joining, my ROAS went from 0.7 to 8.03. And I've only implemented maybe 30% of the feedback that's given me so far, that's just incredible. That's awesome. So Zoe up here, she joined the mentorship program with 35,000 raffle tickets. Was thinking she wasn't going to sell them, and she ended up selling out completely with 2 days to spare. And we've got loads of others in here. We've got tons of people just sharing information around how they've done well, great results they've got. If you're interested, you can click on the button beneath this video. That'll go through to a page on our website. You could book in a free, no obligation call with one of my team members to find out more information. Hopefully we get to work together. Hopefully you join and you'll be sharing fantastic results like Tara and Zoe have done just here.
Myth number 6, you can only scale Facebook ad campaigns 10% at a time. There's been this feeling for many, many years that if you scale by a larger increment than 10% at any one time, your whole campaign's going to die. It's not going to produce any results. Your cost per purchase, cost per lead will go through the roof, and you'll never be able to recover it and get it back. And the reason why people feel like that is because they felt that if you increase your budget by more than 10%, that campaign would therefore re-enter the learning phase, and the learning phase is the most terrifying thing that's ever been. Not true at all, but that's what people think, and therefore you want to avoid it at all costs. That is no longer true, and again, less true now than it used to be. So Meta last year released a tool, and it's only available in a select few ad accounts, that shows you how much you can scale your campaigns by without re-entering the learning phase. And whilst not all ad accounts have this, it was really interesting in terms of what it showed us, in terms of how much you could increase a campaign budget by without re-entering the learning phase. And we were seeing 70%, 80%, 120% increases in budget without re-entering the learning phase. Much, much bigger than a 10, or some people talk about a 20% increase, but 10% would be most common as the limit. So I really think that we need to not worry about this, particularly at lower budget levels. So if you're spending $10 a day, going from $10 a day to $20 a day, absolutely fine. If you're spending $10,000 a day, do you want to go to $20,000 a day in one go? Probably not. That's probably too large a jump. So instead of having like a set percentage, I like to have what feel like reasonable increments as you go through, where you can increase your budget by a larger percentage when it's a smaller budget and by a smaller percentage as it gets larger. You've got to think of what you're asking Meta to do, right? If you're going from 10,000 a day to 20,000 a day, Meta now needs to find an enormous amount of extra people to advertise to. Going from $10 a day to $20 a day, not really. Okay, so you can absolutely scale in larger increments. That doesn't mean you should be irresponsible with your scaling, scale too quickly, scale in too large increments. You can still do that, but just throughout this sort of 10% limit. And this is particularly important for businesses where things are working well and they're time sensitive. So let's say you've got a Black Friday sale on, or any sort of sale, right? And you've only got a few days, or you've got an event coming up and you've only got a few days and things are working well. And you're like, oh, I want to scale, but I can only go up by 10%. I've had conversations with advertisers that have said this. And it's like, no, throw that out. Especially if you want to take advantage of something that is time sensitive, by all means, go for it and increase the budget more. And if you do increase the budget too much and you enter the learning phase, it is not the end of the world. And that leads me on to myth number 7, which is to avoid the learning phase at all costs. Obviously linked to the previous one, but a lot of advertisers are so reluctant to make any changes to their ad campaigns, to their ads, because they are terrified of the learning phase. If I enter the learning phase, everything is going to go wrong. That's not the way to think about the learning phase at all. The learning phase is there to help you as a Facebook advertiser. Just to briefly explain what it is. The learning phase happens when you first launch an ad set, or when you make an edit to an ad set or the ads within it, or you can change campaign settings. It'll also trigger it as well. And basically what's happening there is Meta is going, okay, you've given us these inputs. Now we're going to take a little bit of time to work out how best to use these inputs in order to get you the best results according to your campaign objective and your performance goal. So you've introduced a new ad, right, great. We're going to work out who to put this in front of, what age they should be to get the best results, what time of day we should put an ad in front of them, what they should be interested in, where they should live, all these various data points that is all being worked out. It's all automated, it's all done through Meta's machine learning processes and AI to implement this sort of stuff. And it absolutely helps us, Facebook and Instagram advertisers, get better results. And whilst that is happening, whilst this testing process is going on, you can see greater fluctuations in results. So you might see your results be really good and then drop off, but it normally doesn't last long at all. Learning phases are typically done 24, 48 hours. So we're not talking about an extended time period. And the testing that goes on in that time, in those 24, 48 hours, sometimes significantly less, sometimes a bit more, that helps your campaign for however long you then go ahead and run it for. And Meta have labeled the learning phase learning alongside new ad set because they want to sort of prepare advertisers that you may experience some volatility in results whilst it's going on. But learning does not stop at the end of the learning phase. It's not like, right, it's now learned and the campaign's going to run. Meta continues to learn. The campaigns continue to optimize and improve and perform better. And you see, if you leave a campaign running for a long time, provided it can actually produce results, it is likely to improve in performance over time. We've had many campaigns that we've sort of not necessarily been paying that much attention to come back in, and you go, oh, amazing, this is performing better than when we last looked into it. Might be something ticking over and with a small budget or something along those lines. These things do happen. And trying to avoid the learning phase does much more damage than actually going into it. Because, okay, what's going to send you back into the learning phase? Making changes to the ad set or ads. That may well be necessary, particularly if you think you've made a mistake or you need to update something. When you introduce new ads into that ad set, which you are going to have to do at some point anyway to avoid ad fatigue, that's going to send you back into the learning phase. So just don't worry about going back into it. It's absolutely fine. There is obviously a limit. You don't want to be making a change every 2 days and therefore you're constantly in the learning phase, but just be aware that there's a middle ground here of like, yeah, I'm going to make some changes. Yes, I'm going to introduce some new ads. Yes, I'm going to change things up. That will put me back into the learning phase. I'm not concerned about that. I know that the net benefit of testing new ads, introducing new ads is more than the negatives associated with going back into the learning phase. I just think there's far too much fear around this thing that is actually designed to help us and does help us get better results. Facebook ads myth number 8. There is no point in retargeting with Facebook ads anymore. Now, it is true that a lot of retargeting is handled for us automatically now by the platform. So if you're using an Advantage Plus shopping campaign or say a tailored leads campaign, then Meta's going to work out the retargeting for you. They're going to put ads in front of your warm audiences. They're going to find them. They're going to retarget them. And a lot of that is dealt with automatically. But that does not mean there is no place for retargeting whatsoever in any circumstance. I think that is silly and that's not nuanced enough as a strategy. So if you want to change, for example, the creative that you're using, the offer or the language, the copy for your warm audiences versus your cold audiences, which many businesses do, then you need to have separate retargeting campaigns with which to do that. So for example, when we're running ads for our services, often we're going to be tailoring the content of the creative and the ad copy to people that we know already follow me, already consume my content, have already seen the number of ads, basically that they're warm audiences. Because we can say things that are different. You may have seen ads of mine pop up where I'm sort of somewhat jokingly having a go at people in the audience saying like, why haven't you given your Facebook ad campaigns to us to manage for you? Now, we can't do that to cold audiences because they'll be like, who on earth is this person? But we can say things like that to warm audiences, like, why haven't you given us your ad campaigns to manage? We'll get better results than you will, we'll take it off your hands. We can say things like that to warm audiences in a way that we can't say to cold audiences. So we need separate retargeting for that. And there are other cases, if you want to run specific sales to warm audiences, there might be times where you want to re-engage a warm audience to get them to ascend in a way that you wouldn't want to put those ads in cold audiences because they haven't bought the initial thing. So why would you be trying to ascend them to the higher ticket thing? Lots of scenarios where businesses do that, and lots of scenarios where businesses should do that, even if they aren't doing it, they benefit from it. So don't completely throw out retargeting. We still do it quite a lot. I think there's definitely still a place for it. Number 9, Facebook and Instagram followers don't matter. I think this is a myth, and I understand why people say it because I think it's partially true, but I need to explain. Again, there's nuance here. Generating lots of Facebook followers, lots of Instagram followers with the idea of then reaching those people organically, in other words, for free by posting content and getting them to convert, works a little bit, but we all know that organic reach is limited, particularly on Facebook more so than Instagram. So in terms of that being a strategy, like I'm going to run ads to get lots of followers on both platforms, and I'm then not going to have to run ads again. I'm just going to generate those conversions organically. That doesn't work out for most businesses. You'd be better off directly advertising your products and services, sort of getting followers as a byproduct, but actually getting the sale, the lead, whatever it is that you want, and then sort of growing that way. But I do think that having a certain number of followers on both platforms, if you're going to advertise on both platforms, is really important for credibility. Now, this matters in some industries more than others, but would you want to purchase an involved thing, a product service that really matters to you, matters to success of your business? If you come through to their account and you see they've got 43 followers and haven't posted in 2 months, like, is that a good look? I think that's going to really hurt certain businesses. And I've spoken to businesses before where their ads look great and we're sort of working out, okay, we should be generating leads for this service here. I think this should work really well. The offer's great, and you look and their accounts just look dead, and you're like, people will be checking these things out before they make a decision, especially because this is cold audiences. They don't know who you are. No one wants to take the risk that they're going to work with a company, they're going to purchase a product that might be rubbish. We're all, as consumers, we're all trying to sort of mitigate that risk. And one of the ways we do that is, how legitimate do they look? Like I said, this matters in some industries more than others. It depends on the value of what you're selling, but really is something to think about. So for a lot of beginners, I've advertised, just spend a little bit of money, run quick campaigns to get some Facebook followers, to get some Instagram followers, and just to really establish some credibility when people come and do a bit of due diligence into your business and your accounts. They're right there. They can click from the ad. They can click onto your Facebook page, your Instagram profile, and check this sort of stuff out. So I actually have videos on both in case you want to know how to run campaigns to get followers on either. I'll include those in the video description. Facebook ads myth number 10. You can't run sales or lead campaigns with a new ad account. You have to run something else like traffic. If there's one myth I could just banish forever, it might be this one. Absolute nonsense. Now, the reason why people think this is because they'll create a new meta ad account. They will run a sales campaign to generate sales, run a leads campaign, generate leads, conversion campaigns to actually get what it is that they want. And it won't work very well. They'll go, oh yeah, okay, it's because I had the wrong campaign objective. And they may have heard someone say some nonsense like, Meta doesn't know what a conversion looks like with a new ad account, therefore they can't get you conversions to start with. Like, your ad account's not going to be very good at generating conversions. Now, that part there is true. New meta ad accounts are not as good at generating conversions as more experienced meta ad accounts with more data. Because if Meta's got more data, they can use that to optimize the campaigns and get you better results. That is true. But going from there to the conclusion that you should therefore run, say, a traffic campaign, that makes no sense. That would be like saying, I've got a friend. They've never run before. They've just signed up to a marathon and need to get better at running. I know what we should do. We should get them to train in the swimming pool. Why? If they're not very good at running, they're just going to have to run, be not very good at it until they do more of it, and they adjust and they get fitter and maybe they lose weight and then they get better at running. Swimming is going to provide far less benefit to their goal of running a marathon than just running, even though they're not going to be very good at it at the beginning. And it's the exact same here. Running a traffic campaign will get you less conversions than running a conversions campaign with, or sales or leads campaign with a new ad account. Yes, it's not going to be very good at the beginning, just like your friend that's never run before. It's going to be painful, but the best way to get better results from an ad account is to generate conversions. How do you generate conversions? You run conversion-based ad campaigns. You get more conversions, the ad account learns, you get better results over time. So I've used that analogy before. Hopefully that helps explain what's going on. It's like people have correctly identified a problem and then come up with a solution that just makes no sense whatsoever. So go for what you really want. Meta's smart enough to work it out. If you want leads, go for leads. If you want sales, go for sales. Myth number 11. Videos always produce better results than images or other ad formats. This is not true. I love video ads. We use the video ad format all the time. But the idea that it is now always the best result is absolutely not true. We can see that with our own data. And I actually made a video recently, which you can check out here, that gathers information from thousands of Facebook advertisers on what their best performing Facebook ad format is. And it's really, really interesting. If you haven't already, I'd strongly recommend you go ahead and give it a watch. It'll dispel this myth that videos always the best format and also give you some ideas around what formats you should be using depending on what business you have and how you should be thinking about and testing this. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check it out.